Good day, citizens of Neverwinter. Today I'm here to talk to you about building a barbarian. Um, I'll cover a little bit about gear, attribute scores, companions, mount, insignia. I'm not going to cover mount insignia bonuses today. I'll cover boons and obviously powers for a DPS loadout. I'm not going to dive into the tank today. I'll talk a little bit about some tanking concepts, but this is going to be primarily focused on cranking out DPS on your barbarian. Uh, One of the things about the barbarian in this mod, there's a lot of people out there that are saying the barbarian just doesn't do great DPS or could do better DPS. Yeah, the barbarian could do better DPS than it did with some if there were some different decisions made by the developers. But all in all, for the balance of the game, I think what they did was pretty good. There are definitely barbarians out on the server right now in PC that are doing monstrous damage. They're right up there with any other class, and they are perfectly viable DPS, and they can still be a lot of fun to play. So for starters, I'm just going to look at gear. So my gear right now isn't 100% best in slot. I'm not running best in slot artifacts. However, looking at this, I am running percentage damage boosting gear. So, for example, I'm running the Spy Guild helm. There's another helm, the Successor helm, that also gives 5% damage in Undermountain. It's got 40 item level higher, so it's got just a little bit more combined rating. And just very slightly better stats. Could be a better piece to wear. Right now, for the DPS loadout, the Furred Kimono, the Bear, it still is the best in slot chest. Um, I I've just done a lot of different tests, and with the combination of the percent damage gear, you just can't touch it building power right now, unfortunately. I am running the Fearbringers. I don't do a lot of dailies on this build. I could probably be better suited by running, say, Tethered Grips or Crash Guards for power, or say the Primal Arm Piece, which if you do 15, at least 15% damage to a target, or take 15% of your damage, it increases your power by 1% and stacks up to 5 times. So if you're building up your power to close to 200k power, because you're, end game stats, that's a 10,000, power bonus at 200,000 hit points, or I'm sorry, 200,000 power. Pretty good go. I am running the Alabaster main hand and offhand on this. I think for solo play, balanced solo play and group play, I really like the set bonus on the Alabaster. It's got a lot of utility. The Burnished set, which you buy with Seals of the Deep, is probably going to be better for pure party runs that have, when you have a decent healer. So if you got a decent healer in a party, you're getting a lot of heals. Remember, the burner set works off of potential heals, not just actual heals. So the burner set's a really good. It has a really good set bonus for party runs, and then of course there's the Watcher set, which is a bit more difficult to obtain. At least until they patch it, so that when you are running the expeditions with 3 runes and using the wraith, that you're getting a chance of getting class weapon drops, right? Also running the Heals of Fury, again damage bonus. You'll see that I'm running the Demon Lord set, or the Demogorgon set. Uh, this set is the best in slot set for a DPS barbarian. I really, really, really like the Soul Crystal for single target damage. And then if you have a Shadow Stalker +5, the Shadow Stalker +5 and then +4 in your ring slots are going to be best. This particular shirt and pants definitely not best in slot. Your best in slot, actually, I'm sorry, the shirt is best in slot here. That's when my stamina is over 75%. My damage is increased by another 3%. So you can kind of see a common theme here. It's kind of the same thing you're going to see with a lot of the other DPS classes. We're just seeing better damage overall, out of gear that is percent damage gain. For the pants, there's another set of gear or another set of pants out there that when you crit, you have a chance to gain AP. That's probably the pair of pants you want to run. You probably want to add, a couple of the newer artifacts in, higher level artifacts for more stats, and obviously make sure you're completing your Demogorgon set. When we talk about ability score rolls, I rolled Strength and Cha on this build. Uh, so my Strength is giving me some stamina regen and physical damage boost. I find that stamina regen is really nice on the fighter. It allows me to dodge in and out of things, run up there and be relevant in the party. And then Charisma, boosting that for companion influence and more recharge speed. So our encounters on the Barbarian hit pretty hard. Uh, Before I go too much further about the Barbarian, I have a kind of a love-hate relationship with the Barbarian. I've back when it was the Great Weapon Fighter, I've had one for a long time. And I go through phases where I absolutely love playing it, and then I kind of set it to the side, and then I love playing it. So I have kind of a cyclical investment in this character. There's going to be some point here, probably in the next couple months, where I decide that the Barbarian is going to be my main for a while, and I will be focused 100% on investing in it. As far as mounts go, we'll talk mount insignia. So in here, you can see that I'm definitely not running any insignia that I should probably be running. Magistrate's Patience from an insignia bonus really isn't very good anymore. A lot of the mount insignias with mod 16 or the insignia bonuses are not very good. But generally speaking, from a mount insignia perspective, you should be running dominance instead of skill for most of these. Most people are not going to have a problem uh, capping out your crit chance. Uh, it's going to be pretty easy to do with just gear and your augment bonus off your companions. So again, my suggestion is slot dominance in here for power and companion influence, and you know don't be afraid if you need to give up something, or you could go double gladiator's guile for more movement speed. There's a lot of flexibility in here, but again, dominance. We talk companions. Again, I'm actually not currently using an augment on this character. I'm not doing a lot of group play at this time on my barbarian. I have been doing a lot of MEs, a lot of solo campaign stuff. I treat my barbarian as kind of the character I go to have fun with when I want to, sip on some single malt scotch and just not do a whole lot of any thinking. So right now I have a Shadow Demon summoned. It's purely aesthetic. I would be much better served by an augment companion, like say a Boulette pup or a polar bear cub, or there's a number of others out there. Uh, Bonding runestones, you want to get those up as high as possible. That should be your priority before any other enchantments, is getting your bonding runestones up to rank 15. Uh, Make sure that you are running solo and collecting all of the magic runic pieces or magic runics pieces during the expeditions, because when you turn those in, if you haven't collected all of those or you're running with somebody, you may not get a drop at all. When you turn in those quests, make sure you get the purple double slotted offense pieces. That's a lot of stats you're losing out on if you're not getting that. When it comes down to in here in your companion powers, stack as much power as you can. Generally speaking, that's going to be the best serve. Though, if you're short on armor pen or accuracy, which are your two most important stats to make sure you're hitting cap at, uh, you can obviously fill that in here. We come to Boons. Again, it's kind of my cookie cutter Boon selection. It's kind of turned into a mindless automation for me for any of my DPS characters: power, hit points, and then movement speed, companion influence. But in this case, I did do crit severity over action point gain. Again, I don't this particular build, I don't do a lot of dailies. I not really super fond of the slow animation times on the dailies for the Barbarian. And then obviously recovery speed. I am using Deathly Rage on this. Again, this build is more focused on soloing and doing great damage soloing. The other very solid option of Deathly Rage is Bloodlust for this particular character, but again, that's more of an action point gain. If I wasn't running the Fearbringers and if I was running in a party, I might slot Bloodlust in here, and I might take the crit severity out for Call the Power for more action point gain. When we're talking about powers, this is what I found works for me. Um, there's going to be some difference opinion out in the servers, and I'm going to talk. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about these. So Sure Strike is kind of my not go-to daily. It's my secondary daily. My go-to daily is Relentless Slash. I use Relentless Slash for just about everything. Um, I've run the damage boost based off the weapon, the artifact weapon for both Relentless Slash and Sure Strike on a timer, and by itself. Generally speaking, Relentless Slash edges out Sure Strikes even on single target damage, just slightly. Um, it's got a 0.8 second cast time. Uh, Sure Strike's got a slightly shorter cast time. Um, but yeah, it just because it's got kind of that 1-2 hit, right? Uh, so it delivers a twofold attack. So that when it says magnitude 40, it's actually magnitude 80 because it's delivering a 40 magnitude and another 40 magnitude hit. And then when we talk about encounter powers, I am running currently Indomitable Battle Strike, Punishing Charge, and Frenzy. Now, some people out there are like, well, why aren't you running Axe Storm? I'll tell you why I'm not running Axe Storm. I've done a lot of testing, and Axe Storm is not that good. It was fantastic when it was on preview, 3-4 weeks before go live, but it got tuned down to the point where it it'll do okay AOE damage, but it's just not as good as running some of these single targeted powers and really relying on AOE damage from Relentless Slash. Another solid option for to Indomitable Battle Strike is Bloodletter. Uh, if you're running solo, Indomitable Battle Strike is going to be better, unless you want to use a lot of health stones. Bloodletter does, if you feat for it for the extra damage, it will, come at a health penalty, and your healer is going to have to stay on top of you as you're using it, in party. That being said, there are some benefits of Bloodletter over Indomitable Battle Strike. It's a very fast hitting encounter and it doesn't miss. Indomitable Battle Strike can miss the target, so make sure you're, you know, positioned correctly and you're aimed and you're not wasting your encounter power. That being said, again, Bloodletter, I have not seen Bloodletter miss. When it comes to daily powers, my go-to daily power when I use them is generally Crescendo. It's a hard hitting, uh, and it's hard hitting. It adds a stun, and I kind of like the animation, right? And then Spinning Strike is kind of my other daily that I use. I don't use it too often. I just feel like I'm sitting there watching my character do something that I really don't have a lot of control over. Um, when it comes to class features, Barb Strikes never leaves my bar. I do like that extra 25% crit severity. It's a good damage increase. I'm currently running Steel Blitz as well. I think Steel Blitz is, probably the next best choice in here. Though there are some other uh, solid choices in here. Like Raging Strikes is a solid choice. Um, and then obviously Steady Rage is also a good choice. So you're building up your rage meter a little faster. When it comes to feats, obviously I did Relentless Speed since I am using Relentless Slash. For choice number 2, because I am using Indomitable Battle Strike, IBS, I am using Indomitable Rage. The flip side that is, if I were to use Bloodletter, I would use this Spiller feat instead. It basically makes those two encounters uh, work identically from a damage perspective. Again, Bloodletter won't miss, and it has a relatively quick animation. But it comes at a penalty where you take damage to yourself. The safer option is Indomitable Rage. Again, yes, you may miss with Indomitable Battle Strike, but you're not going to take hit points off yourself. For the third column here, I took a Brutal Critical. Whenever your attacks deal critical damage, you increase your rage by 2. So again, more rage coming in on my bar. For the fourth column, I don't use dailies a lot. I kind of saw this as a throwaway. I really wish that they weren't locking us in on a barbarian of basically throwing away feat choices when we may not want to use either of those dailies. For the last column, this one is up for a personal preference, right? Um, they should both be relatively the same overall from impact to your character. So Relentless Battle Rage, I go with Relentless Battle Rage, especially when running solo. When I'm enraged, when I'm in the in battle rage, right? I do it. It only increases my damage by 10% instead of uh, what is it? The 15%? Yeah, the 15%. So it only increases my damage by 10% while I'm battle rage instead of 15%, but I build it twice as fast. So I am going into battle rage mode twice as often. The alternative to that, which is also a solid alternative, is Escalating Rage. So Escalating Rage does is is a is a little bit better from a single target perspective if you are really watching what you're doing. So if you're not watching what you're doing and you know it's ending earlier than you expect, you can get incapacitated. You get stunned for 3 seconds, which when you're in combat in red is an eternity. So again, use it with caution. Uh, it's really for someone that's going to spend a lot of time practicing their rotations and really getting that hammer down. So I said I'd touch a little bit on some tanking concepts. I'm not going to touch on a tank build at all, but I'm going to talk a little bit about stat points of the tank. You want to build your tank a lot like you're going to build your DPS from a perspective of, all of your offensive enchantments or your offensive abilities. The real difference is you want to build a nice solid hit point pool. You want to make sure that your defensive stats are up. And then it really comes down to managing, your rage and stamina. That's all I have for today. If you found this informational or have some critiques to make on this, please hit me up on Twitch. The link is here in chat or here in the chat description as well as on the video. And that's Twitch TV /Lord_Willow_. Thank you very much for your time.